You're listening to the Valued Podcast with Shayne and Luke Wyler. Hey, welcome to the show. Today, Shelley is in the studio with me. Hey, Shelley's my wife, for those of you who don't know. Today, Luke and I asked her to come in because there's a topic that we think is really, really important. We've been chatting about this since we got married, I think. We just wanted to share our thoughts on it and let you guys into, to our minds and our experience of what we've experienced over the last, I don't know how many years, way over a decade that we've been really talking about this stuff. So here's what we want to talk to you about. Here's the key question we want to answer for you today is, what are you going to do with your life? I think one of the big things is when people go to try to answer this question, what should I do with my life? We naturally, as a people, we gravitate towards, okay, what should I be doing for a living, right? Which naturally leads you to go, okay, so when they're younger, so how do I prepare them for that as a young adult and into their adulthood? Because we as parents obviously we feel that we have that responsibility as parents, and we want to take that responsibility as parents to make sure our kids are the most equipped and the best equipped that they can be to live the life that they're supposed to be living. And so we naturally then gravitate towards answering the question from an education perspective, right? But what we've learned is that there's things that you need to actually address before you even jump into that conversation about, okay, so if this is what, my kid likes fire trucks and policemen and whatever it is that they're into, maybe that's what they're going to lead to. Like we try to do all these things and interpret their behaviors, interpret their likes and dislikes and what they're good at and what they're not good at to help steer them into the future to what they're supposed to be doing. But there's some key things that we found that you even need to address before that gives context to all those things.
Yeah, and specifically, it's why are they here? And if we don't know why they're here, and if they don't know why they're here, then it's always just, like we say, it's trial and error. Whatever happens. We try this, didn't work, so we try something else. But I think too many people get caught up in talents. So they just want their children to be talented. So they look for things that their children are really, really good at, and they push that and push that and push that. And, it's whatever it might be. Maybe it's piano 10 hours a day or whatever that is. But did you go back to look at why your child is here? And is that the right tool? Yes, they may be very good at it, but is it something that you should be driving so hard that this is going to be their life? Because what's happening is so many children get to a certain point and it's, well, now what do I do? They're very unclear as to what they're to do, and especially right now in the world, it's even more unclear. And children that may have thought, this is what I want to do, are maybe now thinking, that may not even exist.
We've read statistics on that and articles on that, whatever the number is, it changes. But, our children, the jobs that they're going to have don't even exist yet. Right? Like we can even see that in our life. Jobs that are available to us in our generation didn't exist to our parents, right?
That's
so
right.
How do you as a parent prepare your child for something that you have no idea what's going to be in the future, right? We've asked that question so many times. So today what we want to talk about, there's three key things that we're going to talk about. First is knowing your purpose. And we're going to share a little bit about what that is and define it in terms of this context that we're going to talk about. The second thing that we want to share with you is understanding where your opportunities are and how to figure those out and how do they actually help you figure out what you should be doing with your life. And then lastly, knowing what you need in order to fulfill on the purpose that you've been called to fulfill, and really understanding how do you unpack, what you're being called to do and how purpose fits into that. So that's what we're going to talk about.
We can all see those people that really know why they're here. And we look at them and think, I want that, but we think it's unattainable because we've just been told it's unattainable. It's only for certain people. But that's not the truth. Our children are leaders. And the other issue is that we're not looking at our children as leaders from even the toddler stage. Our children are leaders, and we need to be leading them in that. And I don't mean leaders in that they get to be the boss of the home. I mean leaders in growing up that they have something important to say. And they may have something to say now.
Yeah, they definitely have something to say now. And we've learned, we're learning over the years that as we allow our children to be leaders in whatever it is that's appropriate for them to lead, that dynamic changes the household, changes our relationship to them. All of a sudden they're contributing in ways that we actually found out we needed as an entire family.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing how each child we have are like, wow, you are exactly who our family needed right now. It's amazing when you understand why they're here, the impact that they have on your life and the lives of those around you.
So one of the key things this may be the first time you're listening to us or hearing about, purpose in terms of the context in which we talk about. So here's one of the key things. When we talk about purpose, we're not talking about a what. We're not talking about what you do for a living or what you do in your life or the roles that you play, the positions you have.
That's right. That's why I mentioned talents, because talents are not why your child is here.
Right. You need those talents in order to fulfill.
They're definitely a tool. Yes.
Absolutely. So when we talk about purpose, we're talking about why you're here, not what you do. What you do has to align with why you're here, which is what we want to chat about on and dig into today is how do you figure out the what with the why, right? So from our experience, you can't figure out the what with any sort of accuracy. It's the trial and error method. And maybe you hit it, maybe you don't. Maybe, and how do you know that? You can't know that until you know why you're here. So that's why, we've been doing what we've been doing for the last 15 plus years is helping leaders, helping their families, including their children, their companies and their communities understand why they're here so that all those what you're supposed to be doing with your life, with your company, your family, you can figure that out in the context of why. Why gives you the context to figure out the what you're supposed to be doing with your life.
Well, and it's amazing even to see, some of our younger children, they know why they're here, and to have them thinking, should I be doing this? Is this what I should be learning about right now? Is this important?
Even within that, we've noticed that we've been able as parents to have a conversation with them and go, if they're struggling in something, whatever, math or science or biology, whatever it is, adding 2 + 2, whatever the thing is they're working on that day, to truly help them understand how does this help you fulfill on that purpose. And once you put the thing in context, then you can clearly see it and go, oh yeah, I need to know how to do this in order to do that. Or maybe this isn't all that important, which then opens them up to then take the pressure off themselves. Not to say that they still have to learn what 2 + 2 is, but in the context of why you're here, it makes amazing difference because you know why you're doing it. So then you're able to learn it that much faster.
It gives them a reason to learn it, right? It's like throwing popcorn at a child's head and telling them to eat it, and you hope maybe you get a few pieces in their mouth. But when they know why and why this is important, it just opens up their brain, and now they're learning because there's purpose to it. There's meaning to it. It's not just, I have to. Oh, today is math day. Yay. They know why they have to learn it, and they know why it's important, and they know that they are here for such a time as this, and that time needs to be spent on doing the things that are important for why they're here. And their life just takes on way more meaning, even in play. Even in play, they're thinking, how can they be a better leader to their siblings? And they express that through play. So it makes a difference especially when they're interacting with their younger siblings, and it makes a huge difference in how they lead them. I think one of the most amazing parts is that right now, in a time when people are so unsure about what's happening, and they've had these plans and they think this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go, and this is what my life is going to look like. And right now, maybe that's, not looking very certain.
Yeah, the future is unclear.
Yeah, and that can throw so many people into, well, forget it then. I don't even care anymore. What's the point in everything that I've just done? What's the point?
Right.
The amazing part about knowing your purpose, and I am so thankful that, our children, maybe not our little ones yet, but most of our children, they know why they're here. So yes, the future may look uncertain, but they know they're here for such time as this, and it may not look exactly what they had planned out in their mind, But that's okay, because they're here for a specific reason, and they know why. And they know that no matter what the outcome is, they have a job to do.
Even though the little ones don't necessarily know why they're here, they're growing up in an environment surrounded by people who are figuring out why they're here and then figuring out how to live that out and be leaders in it. So they're growing up into that environment to go, oh, I have a place too. There's something for me here as well. And there's something for me to lead as well. Like from little, up, we can see that because
absolutely.
Not only are we encouraging them, but our children are encouraging the other children to be leaders in their purpose and fulfill on why they're here.
And that they have a purpose, that there is a reason that they're here, and they don't ever have to feel like, do I even belong in this family? I've heard that before from, they have a child that just doesn't even feel like they belong. And that breaks my heart because every child is meant to be there. Your child is meant to be there and they have a purpose to be there. So to know that from a young age that I'm here for a certain reason, it starts to raise leaders from infancy, really.
So here's one of the key takeaways today, that you actually can't fulfill your calling, what you're supposed to do, without knowing your purpose. It's impossible.
It is very impossible. And especially right now when there's young people thinking, where am I going to go and what am I going to do? What school can I even go to now? Or what is my career going to be? They're trying to make these decisions just grasping at straws. What can I do? What can I do? If that child could know his purpose, his calling would be so clear, or her calling, and they would know exactly where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, where their opportunities are. Things may still look different.
Bleak, even sometimes.
Yeah, scary sometimes.
So over the years that we've been helping leaders and their families really figure out how to answer that question, what should I do with my life, or what should we be doing with our company or our community or our family? One of the things that, and this is a term that I've coined, I call it the cycle of settling, is that when you get to that place like you were sharing earlier of, I can't figure this out, so I'm just going to give up. You just end up settling. And it's this vicious cycle that happens, which impacts your family, impacts your children, because we pass that down, right? Like we model that to them. Well, I'm just going to give up because it's too hard to figure this out. And to be honest, without knowing why you're here, trying to figure out what you should be doing with your life is really hard. It is. I
don't
really
think
difficult.
You can figure it out. I honestly don't think you can figure out what you're supposed to be doing without knowing why you're here, because it really is just a trial and error. And something may even work for 5-10 years. It might actually work, but are you where you're supposed to be?
And the interesting thing, especially with the last year and a half that we've all gone through as a world, it's really given people time and an opportunity to really question, what should I be doing with my life? Right. So, we're focusing on kids today, but it happens at several stages throughout one's life. You have to answer, what should I be doing with my life now?
Yeah. Look how many careers are destroyed and lost, and people feel hopeless and like their life has just been destroyed because they were their career and now that career is gone. And now what do they do? Now I'm good for nothing else but, doing something that I'm going to hate. Absolutely.
And we were witnessing that as Gen Xers with our parents as they were moving into, like our parents' generation, moving into retirement. Mm-hmm. Not so much our parents, but that generation of going, okay, well, what should I be doing with my life right now? And it becomes this huge momentous thing that can freak people out, right? Or they hold on to things that they don't need to hold on to anymore, simply because they just don't know how to make that transition into, what should I be doing with my life now? And that's where we found purpose every single time. Be it your child, to you as a 20-something, 30-something, 40, 50, 60, 70, to when you retire, to be able to answer that question. I know why I'm here. So now it's just the next opportunity, the next thing to move into. Bring it. What is that, right?
Right.
Where's the next place for me to fulfill my purpose?
Right. And instead of answering that from a what perspective, right? Well, now I'm not doing the job that I just did for the last, 35 years. Now what do I do? Well, now I better find a hobby, or maybe I'll take up golf, or maybe we'll travel. It's always based around a what instead of answering why. And I think that's why so many people at the end of their life are, what did I do with my life? Even though they may have done great things, they're still asking, what did I do with my life? Because they didn't take the time to answer why and really dig into finding out why.
Well, and I think there's several key moments in one's life where that you get to answer that question, like, what have I done? What have I done with my life so far? It starts when you're a kid. What do I want to do? Right? That's where it starts. But then as you start to live that out, I know I asked it when I was a teenager. I asked it in my 20s and my 30s, and now in my 40s. I've asked that question many times to go, what am I doing with my life? Mm-hmm. And is that what I should be doing with my life? And I can't actually answer that question out of context to why I'm here. It's the only way to, it's the only way to measure it, to go, okay, is what I'm doing right now actually helping me fulfill on my purpose? And I know when I look back, there's things that I studied. I went to school for things. I know it was a complete waste of time. And people could tell me otherwise, right? Oh, no, it was good that you did. No, it was a complete waste of time because it had nothing to do with why I'm here. Mm-hmm. It was only a what that I, thought I should be pursuing as a career.
That's right. And that goes back to the trial and error. So how many children have, put a year in school here, or no, this isn't really what I want to be doing, and switch to another school, maybe even another goal completely of what they're doing.
Yeah. And, I've often tried to justify it and come up short going, well, there was transferable skills I learned how to learn. I did all these things that I can transfer to this new thing. But I often look at it from this perspective. What if I would have been learning all of those things in the context of why I'm actually here doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Why would I not want that?
Which is so exciting to me. Like when I look at our children, thinking that they're doing that from the moment they're born. That's very exciting to me. Yeah,
because they have a context and they're growing up in that context to go, let's start with why, mm-hmm. and let's build from there. Okay, so that's I think that covers a good chunk of the why part, knowing your purpose and how important it is. And we could talk for years on that, right? Yes. For sure. And we have talked for years and hours on that. Second point, knowing where your opportunities are to fulfill on that purpose and the calling that's going to allow you to do that. Let's talk a bit about that.
So I think that's the biggest issue with so many young people today is that they don't even know where their opportunities are. They don't even know where to look for them. They don't even know where to begin with them. And they're lost. Unfortunately, they're lost. And right now, I don't think it really matters where they went to school, for up until high school. I don't think it really matters what they did. I think just because of everything that's going on and just the uncertainty of it all, that they don't even know where to look for opportunities right now. Or they'll just take whatever opportunity comes up. Or they may not even care if there's an opportunity. So many people are just giving up. Who cares? We'll see what happens tomorrow.
So how does in order to answer this question, knowing where your opportunities are to fulfill in your purpose, how does actually knowing your purpose help you from your experience and working with, our children, leading our children, raising our children to be leaders? How does knowing your purpose help you figure out where your opportunities are?
Well, it definitely lets me know where I'm needed and wanted. If I'm both needed and wanted, then I know that it's an opportunity, and we're teaching our children that as well. So they're very aware of, is this an opportunity or is this a distraction?
How have you seen our kids maneuver that in terms of knowing where their opportunities are for those that know their purpose? How has that helped them to figure out what they should be studying, where they should be studying, the things that they should be engaging in, other projects or hobbies, whatever it is, interests? How do those things come into play in terms of knowing their purpose and figuring out opportunities that they have to explore those skills or talents?
I think it's almost like a muscle, and we start to work that muscle. And then it just starts to flow. So the earlier they start to do it, the faster they get at it.
Well, and that's one of the amazing things that we've noted over the years when we've been able to, like, as soon as we can have that conversation and help one of our kids figure out why they're here when they're, mature enough. And really that's when they start asking, why am I here? What should I be doing? Those are key questions that lead you naturally into this conversation that we're talking about, helping your kids figure out why they're here. And then once that happens and you start to work into that, then they have the ability, they grow in that ability to be able to look at their life and go, like you were saying, Shelley, should I be doing this right now?
Well, and it also helps in, if we're working through a subject that might be, not easy to them, but I know what their purpose is, and I can see clearly how this is going to benefit them and how this is going to make a huge difference in why they're here and as a tool, and to be able to point that out to them and show them, and then it starts to make sense. And then whatever it is that's hard becomes a challenge that they want to fight it. They want to get it. They don't want to go down without having it. So it becomes something that they own, not something that I have to, well, I know this is hard, but you really do have to learn this. I don't have to drive that. They do. And kids are kids. So, they have squabbles, they have disagreements, they have hard times together. But the most amazing thing in our family is that it's very easy to point out, how is that helping you realize your purpose? Are you meeting that need with them? Are you answering that need? And so often they're able to just do that themselves now, right? Like they can think very quickly themselves, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was, or they know their dream, they know their nightmare. That's part of our course, which is so beneficial as a family. That's why I would encourage you to do this framework, because it's so amazing in the family life to go, honey, you don't need to live there in your nightmare. That's your nightmare trigger. And then for them to quickly be like, yeah, that's not taking hold of me. They don't want that to have any hold on them whatsoever. They want the dream, and they want everybody around them living that dream with them.
So we as a family a long time ago felt the conviction to homeschool. And so we've been exploring all of this within the context of homeschooling. And it's given us a lot of flexibility, a lot of time to be with our kids, to be able to hone in on this. But this is stuff that, we've been teaching families that, they don't homeschool. This is just parenting, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your child could be coming home from school going, I'm struggling with math or science, or I had a bad day in biology, or, art was driving me crazy. I can't draw this, whatever. Those are moments that we all have as parents that we can live into our kids' lives whenever they show up. Those are opportunities where you're needed and wanted, potentially, to live into your child's life, where this conversation and this knowing of your purpose fits exactly in that place. Because this is just education, like helping your children in the things that they're learning, try to figure out what they need and what they don't need in relation to your purpose. That doesn't have to happen in a home education environment. It can happen in any environment. It could be an older child who's at work.
That's right.
They have an after school job or whatever they're doing on weekend job, and they're coming home and they're sharing their struggles with you. Or their celebrations or whatever it is. These moments happen all the time in family life. And it even goes from spouse to spouse. Like you and I have these conversations all the time of helping each other, guide each other what we're supposed to be doing with our life, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, we'll come across something and you'll just be like, honey, I think this is where you should be going based on why you're here. And it just, those moments we all have those blind spots. So to have each other, when we know each other's purpose, we can help answer that question on a daily basis even, right? Sometimes it feels like
that's right.
That's all you're trying to do is answer this question over and over again.
When you know your purpose, your friend might not know theirs, but you know yours, and you know exactly the need that you're here to answer, and you know exactly how you need to help them.
And you'll know when and where in order to step in to help answer that need, where there's an opportunity to do so.
It might be your friend saying, now what do I do?
Yeah, I just lost my job, or I don't know the future of my job. How do I figure out what I'm going to be doing?
Right. Or all of this may have put such a strain on your marriage that you're now looking at it like, now what? You know, now it's falling apart, and now where do we go, and how do we even go? Like, how do we rebuild that? And when you know why, that marriage can be healed very quickly.
Yeah, when you know why you're here and why you're together. Yeah, we've seen that so many times. So
it's
much
powerful.
healing. Yeah,
it's a powerful force.
So, I mean, we're focusing on children, but this really applies to wherever
Everyone.
wherever you are in life.
And
right?
I think it has to. I mean, I think the conversation has to include everyone, right? Because it's everyone that the children need.
Well, and everyone has a purpose, so it does include everyone.
That's right.
Whether, maybe you've been taught that you don't, or, you believe that you don't. But if you're listening to this podcast this long, somewhere in you know that you do. You just maybe don't know what it is, or it hasn't been clearly defined, or you're struggling to live it out. So we all do have a purpose. That's
right. And you may have been listening to this just to think, how can I help my child better? One of the best ways you can help your child is to know your purpose. I look at it every day of, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this to protect my children's joy. That's why I do it. That's why I get up in the morning. That's why I do everything that I do. That's why I'm here. And that's a huge benefit to my children, because I don't have a mother that's wondering, what am I supposed to do next? How do I do this? Now what?
Well, and as I know that we've done this over the years, as you've been looking at curriculum or programs or, other outside things that should we get the kids involved in these things, you are always looking at it in relation to two things. One, is it going to protect their joy? So is this thing that I'm going to send them into, or this workbook or whatever, is this going to completely rob them of their joy and they're going to hate learning and want to give up? Or is it actually going to bring joy to them? And secondly, how is this going to help them fulfill their purpose?
That's right.
And I'm looking at it going, how is what we're doing as a family going to help our children and us help others realize their purpose? So if we're not realizing our purpose, we're never going to be able to understand how to help others realize their purpose, because we won't know what those sticky points are. We won't know those things that you need to get over, those things where they get hard. How do you use the idea and the principle of fulfilling your purpose to actually make real life decisions every single day, either personally or professionally?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So the third thing then we want to talk about is, how do you know what you need? And we've been talking a little bit about that, but let's specifically pinpoint some things. How do you know what you need to fulfill your purpose? So in context of this conversation on education and helping children figure out what should they be doing with their life, how do you figure that out? How does purpose help?
Well, I think that's that's a big part that we teach in the framework, right? Is what are your tools?
Tools being anything that you use to help fulfill your purpose.
Right. So I think we hit on it just on our last point too, is that when you know why you're here, it starts to become very clear what you need in order to do that. When you know why your child is here, it starts to become very clear what they need in order to do that. And even collectively as a family, right? Collectively as a family, we have a purpose, all of us together. So we can look at that too. Is this what our family needs to be doing in order to fulfill that purpose? So when it comes to education, when it comes to anything.
Life. Yeah, whatever we do in life, yeah.
Yeah, you can just look at it and say, is this what we need in order to fulfill this and accomplish this? Or is it a distraction? Life is short, right? So you want to know where those distractions are, because there's only so much time. I mean, when you think about really how short life is from the moment you're born till, even if you die at an old age, you don't have a lot of time to do what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And why not live it as best as you can and knowing why you're doing it, so that when that day comes, if you know that day has come, not all of us get to know, but there's no regrets. You've done the best that you can do, you know. Well done, good and faithful servant.
Everyone listening to this podcast right now, I know that you have regrets. We all do. Regrets on, I should have done this different. Mm-hmm. And we know we let those things go, right? But, you know, you don't linger in your regrets, obviously, as a healthy human being. And as an adult, as you grow up, you learn that living in your regrets really gets you nowhere. But we all do look back and go, should I have done that differently? Which I think is very, very healthy to do, because that promotes growth within you to be who you're meant to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing because of why you're here. And within that, when I take a look at all the different whats, all the different tools that I've tried over the years, and the ones that have really worked, and the ones that have just gotten in the way, I always come back to this place, and I so badly want our children to understand and have this experience as well. What if I would have started this sooner? Mm-hmm. Like, what if I realize now, as a middle-aged guy, depending on how old I live, I don't know, but typically in my 40s, I realize that there is no need. Now I see this. I didn't always see this. There's no need to do things you don't need to do in order to learn things that you're going to use later in life. Why not do the things that you're supposed to be doing to learn those things? So here's my personal example. For those of you who don't know, I used to be a professional actor. I spent years of my life, my younger life, acting. And there's a lot of good that came out of that. There's a lot of skills that I have, but I often look back and go, what if I would have started this company when I was 20? I could have learned the exact same things in this context of helping people realize their purpose, and not wasted time, money, resources to learn those very things that I use every single day. The good, like the stuff that's helpful, but there's a lot of stuff that I learned that I'm never going to use.
That's right.
And so what a waste. What a waste, as you were saying, of that life. And I know, you know, people would say it's not a waste because you did it and you learned. But I think that's... What if you didn't have to? What if you didn't have to? So I look at Luke, who's on this podcast, and he's doing things now that we don't know if he's going to end up doing those things in the future, but he has a mindset to analyze and strategize and go, how are these things helping me fulfill on my purpose? What an amazing opportunity to have, because he himself is quickly going, no, I don't need that anymore. I don't need to waste time on that. Or you know what? I need to push on this more, because this right now is really helping me fulfill on this. It's amazing to watch him do what we didn't get to do until we were much, much older.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing is that he gets to tailor his education to exactly what he needs and what he needs to be doing for exactly why he's here, right? He's not handed a bunch of things that are just meaningless and pointless to his life and are going to go nowhere and are just, you know, even a waste of a year. You know, some courses, they're a year long. That's a lot of time to waste. And that's why, you know, my heart breaks for these kids thinking, well, I need to go to this school for 4 years, only to find out, why did I do that? Why? You know, and to be in all this debt and at the end of it have no job, or just think, I can't do this for the rest of my life. This is not what I want to be doing. And then they're back to the drawing board.
Okay, so we've been talking about how do you figure out what you should be doing with your life? So it begs the question, what happens if you don't figure it out?
Well, unfortunately, it leads a lot of people to the end where people say, why did I do that? You know, or, you know, the 60-year-old man saying, my goodness, I wasted that many years of my life, or I put that many years into this company for what? You know, for them to close the door on me and to never look back.
For me, it just comes down to, as simply as I can say it, is you just end up devalued.
Or devaluing others.
Because it goes hand in hand. As
Right.
soon as you put yourself in a place where you're being devalued, If you stay there long enough, and this is, I believe, what happens if you don't do the work to figure this out, what you should be doing with your life. If you don't know why you're here, you are walking towards being devalued. It's inevitable. And the longer you stay there, the longer you become more and more devalued, discarded, forgotten, abandoned, the more you're going to devalue others, which in my opinion leads to a lot of what we're looking at today in our society. The issues that we have is people just aren't being valued.
Right. And it comes down to the cycle in the family, right? The parents aren't feeling valued, so they're not valuing their children. And those children are growing up thinking, you know, life is just a get whatever job comes along, and, you know, you wake up in the morning and throw yourself in your car and drive to work and drive home, and there's no purpose to it. There's no joy in it. Absolutely not.
So obviously we've put together this whole podcast, this whole show is called Valued, because we believe you deserve to be valued. And we believe that all those that you're leading deserve to be valued. And these are key things that we've discovered over the years, especially we're talking in the context of family and raising our kids to be leaders, and how does education fit into that? Obviously we could talk a lot longer on all of this, and we will in future episodes. But we want you to know this. You do have value. Your kids have value. And all that is anchored in why you're here. It's so vital. It's so vital that you and your children understand why you're here, so that you can make these decisions in your life and help them make decisions in their life that affect not only them, but everyone else that they're ever going to be in relationship with, be it personally or professionally. We've seen it work. We've seen it fall apart when these things aren't in place. Even within our own family, when we forget to live on purpose, those things start to fall apart.
That's right. And we also believe that everyone is a leader. So if you're listening to this thinking, well, it doesn't apply to me anyway because I'm not a leader, or my children are never going to be leaders. Yes, you are. You are a leader in one shape or form right now. And so are your children. And you're here for such a time as this. And why not know now? And you don't have to wait for things to fall apart before you think, wow, I should do something about this. Do something now. Be strong and courageous now. And if things are falling apart, absolutely do it now. But don't wait for that to happen.
We're calling you to action to raise your children to be leaders for this one simple reason. We need their leadership.
That's right.
We need their leadership now and in the future. They're here right now. There's no need for them to wait. As you said, they're leaders now.
That's
you said
right.
that earlier, that they're leaders now. We need their leadership now, whatever that looks like, in the opportunities that their purpose leads them towards, where they're needed and wanted. That could be just within your family for now. But more than likely, there's other areas in their life, other relationships that they have, where they're being called to lead, to help meet that need that they're here to meet in the lives of others, which the framework shows you how to do. So in order for you and your children to be the leaders that we all need you to be, from our experience, this is what we have learned. This is what we see in other leaders. This is why we teach what we teach and focus our lives around this purpose of helping you realize your purpose. You can't actually be the leader that you need to be without knowing why you're here and understanding your value within that, so that you can clearly communicate that to all those where you have opportunity to lead and serve. So I guess I would just conclude this, and then, Shelley, you share how you want to conclude this conversation. But I would say that when you clarify your purpose and you align all you do with that, then you actually have the opportunities to lead from it and be the value leader that we all need you to be.
That's right, because you have an important part to play, and your child has an important part to play. You need to know your purpose. Your child needs to know their purpose. And even collectively as a family, you need to know your purpose. The world needs us too. The world needs strong leaders right now. Leaders that won't bend, that will stand up and do the right thing. Leadership is hard, which is why the Valued Podcast is here for you. Realize your purpose and be the valued leader you need to be everywhere you go, So if today's episode blessed you in any way, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Then head over to wcompany.ca to see how our on-demand courses and live events teach you how to be valued in all your key relationships at home, work, in your community, and beyond. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get you valued everywhere you go.